It's been a few weeks since we looked at the strawberries, but they are producing very well. Deep, red, beautiful, great tasting strawberries coming from these strawberry plants. Don't know if I'll plant the same variety again next year, but these are doing well. If the strawberries remain getting this size, I will go ahead and keep growing these. But I don't know the variety, but my wife bought them particularly because of their sweetness. So those are doing well. Here's another reason not to put mulch in your yard. I come out every day and find all kinds of fungus and mushrooms growing in my mulch. So if I just had followed the instructions in the Mittleider book, I wouldn't have this fungus problem in my backyard. These red onions finally greened up. I have been giving them some nitrogen because they were pretty yellow. They have really taken a beating because I haven't protected them from the northern wind, and they are on the north side here. But finally they've come around. I do need to get some fabric over them. You can see they're finally getting nice and strong and thick. Sometimes when I watch gardening updates, all I see is the plants. I don't get a really good feel for the actual growing area. So here's the grow box for the strawberries and the red onions. This is what this bed looks like with the onions, peppers, and melons. You can see I've got the fabric over them. We're expecting a heavy rainstorm today, so I'll lower this down. The rain will come through the fabric, watering the plants, but they won't get wiped out. I've lost several plants over the last couple of weeks because of wind, when I didn't have the ends lowered, and actually it just tore right through the area here. So it's very important to cover your plants from wind. Again, the advantage of having multiple garden beds and different varieties of gardening is that you can compare. Here are the yellow and white onions, and they are just incredible. I mean, look at the height of this. This one is probably, that's at least 3 feet tall. And so I've just been cutting them off here where they bend, and we've been using those as green onions in the salads. Bulbs are getting nice and large, so the onions are growing very well. They're coming up out of the soil, which means they're getting good size. I'm having an ant problem. I guess they like the productivity of the garden also, and so I've been sprinkling everything with diatomaceous earth, so you'll see white powder everywhere. Because everything grows so well in the Mittleider gardening method, I went out and bought a whole different kinds of variety of items. Here is a Kentucky Wonder, and what I've done is I stapled to the side of the 2x8, another good reason to use 2x8s, and then on the back it just gives me all the information about this heirloom pole bean that I'm growing. That should be mature in 65 days. It likes full sun. It's a prolific barrier, and you want to plant them 4 inches apart. So I've got these trellising up the strings. Took them a while to kick in, but they're doing very well, and you can see them growing right up the string here. I'm training them. I don't wait for them to find the twine. I actually take the twine and wrap it around the leader. Most people would not consider growing peppers vertically, but it's been my experience that our pepper plants get about 5 feet tall, and we do have to support them, and so I am growing them with the vertical twine just to give them the extra support that they need. Next to the peppers, I've got some cucumbers, I've got some burpless, and some straight 8. I went down to the nursery and just bought 2 of everything just so I could see what I like growing. So I've got this also sprinkled with the diatomaceous earth, and next to the cucumbers I've got the classic cantaloupe, which I'm very excited to grow. I love cantaloupe. I've got about 3 or 4 plants of those. And then next to the cantaloupe I'm also growing vertically crimson sweet watermelon. These get to be about the size of cantaloupe, and so will grow just like the cantaloupe up the vine. Now, one thing about watermelon that's different than cantaloupe is that watermelon do have suckers, and so you have to watch out for suckers as you're going through your watermelon. Like right here, that's a sucker, just like a tomato plant. And just take those out so that you have a nice, clean, healthy plant growing up. See, you've got suckers right here too. Just take those right out, just like you do in a tomato plant. Anyway, I love watermelon. I'm looking forward for the next 65, 75 days to start harvesting watermelon and cantaloupe. And one thing I do want to show you is in my transplanting vertical plants, I showed you that 3 plants came in one container, and you have to separate the roots. You can see the difference between these plants here. This one had the most damage. This is one I said I was going to throw away, but decided to keep just to see how it would grow. You can see how much smaller it is than the other 2 plants, especially this plant that had no root damage at all. There are definitely big advantages to growing your own seeds in addition to expense. You have a lot healthier plants. This is what I'm most excited for. This is Brussels sprouts, and it takes a long time to grow Brussels sprouts. It's over 100 days. But look, they're finally coming on here, and I'm so excited. I've never grown Brussels sprouts before. I probably won't again because they take so much time. But it's exciting to grow something and see it happen right before your eyes. So I've been very patient with this plant and excited to see the Brussels sprouts growing here on this plant. Now, interesting, this plant used to be over right across here where these cantaloupe were. Of course, a Brussels sprout plant isn't a vertical growing plant, so I just dug it up and put it over here in this 18-inch wide bed. This plant here gets more sun than the ones next to my house, and I want to show you the comparison between these two. So this is the Brussels sprout plant that gets sun till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And these are the Brussels sprout plants that are next to my house. You can see they're kind of tall. They've got lots of space in between for light to get through, but it's taking them quite a while to get some Brussels on them. But over here we've got a few on this plant. So what's nice about this, the way I look at it, is I'm getting Brussels sprouts at different times, so that all the Brussels sprouts aren't coming on at the same time. You can see the yellow leaf. I need to get that removed, and that's what I do every Monday when I feed the plants. Unfortunately, this will probably be the last time you see these beautiful yellow flowers. They just grow so big, they're just unmanageable. I guess I could thin them, but if you have any suggestions on what to do, they are beautiful and they are edible, but they're just kind of taking over the space. So there's the Brussels sprout box next to the house. Also, this is probably the last time you'll see the Bok Choi because it's gone to seed. And when it's gone to seed, I don't plan on saving any of these seeds. We've got plenty of seeds, and so I'll probably take these out. We have been eating Bok Choi for probably 4 months or more. It just has been growing and growing and growing. Had one problem with spider mites, sprayed it with neem oil, it took care of it and never had a problem again. Each of these are blossoming, so it's time to take the Bok Choi out. This is my potato box. On the right hand side I'll be planting sweet potatoes. I'm growing the slips for the sweet potatoes right now. Oh, look at this. See what we have here? We have an insect in the garden, and just for those of you who don't know what that is a ladybug. And that's what they look like before they look all pretty. I've noticed the ladybugs coming into the garden lately. I don't know why. I don't seem to have any bad bugs in the garden, but the ladybugs seem to be enjoying the potatoes. At any rate, here are the potatoes. I had mentioned I had 100% germination, and I had one kind of straggler. The stragglers come up in a week. This is where it's grown. It's just amazing what's happened in a week. It wasn't up a week ago. We have nice, thick, green, healthy vegetation on all the potatoes. I hope for a very good harvest going through here. One advantage of having the sawdust and soil mix is that it's clean when you get it. And occasionally I will find a weed. I'm sure they blow in from my neighbor's yard, but because it is sand and sawdust, it's so easy to take them out of the garden and just pull them out. Now I could also just use the two-way hoe and do it quickly, but there's still a few of them. As I just run across them, I'll just pull them out just like that. Well, if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you'll recognize this bed, and this is the sugar snap pea bed. And talk about things coming out, this one has just been so prolific and doing so well. I stopped feeding it the weekly feed because I wanted it to stop growing. It's time for it to come out. I have other things that go into this grow bed. It actually looks like they're at the end of their lifespan. They produce longer and more than I had ever anticipated. It was really a joy to have these and just munch on them. I take a bowl and just sit on my bed and respond to comments and personal messages on YouTube, and answer questions on the Mitladder Facebook page, and just munching on sugar snap peas that I have sitting next to me. These all came from my wife's seeds from her sugar snap peas last year, and so we are going to let some of these vines go till they actually dry out, as you're seeing here, and then we will collect the seeds off of these plants, and those will be the seeds for next year's sugar snap peas. Just look at these sugar snap peas. It's at the end of the season and they are just plump and juicy and awesome. I do enjoy sports and other things, but there's nothing more rewarding to me than growing in the garden and seeing the fruits of your labors. Just incredible. My wife is growing several different varieties of heirloom tomatoes, and when she's got leftovers, she gives me the leftovers. So I planted this one, and it kind of split into two main stems. So not knowing what to do, I just decided to grow both of them vertically, and I've got them both tied up. Tell me what you think. I've heard that when the blossoms on the tomato plants curl back, it means that they are pollinated and that you'll get fruit for them. Let me know if that's a wise tale or if you think that's true. On the opposite side of the sugar snap peas, I have my tomatoes. And below the tomatoes, I don't know how well you can see, I've got a wire running vertically. And this is so I can hold the string on so I can grow up my tomatoes. And everything that I grow vertically, I have attached to a wire on the bottom. I did a video recently on how to install this wire. I'll have a link below this video. But these plants are growing great. Again, I just went to the nursery, bought several variety of plants. I'm excited to see that they're doing well. I do come out each week, at least once a week, just walk down the row slowly and look for any suckers. Occasionally I'll come out and I'll find branches that are low and I'll snip them off. You can see here, yesterday I took some off here and off here. They were too low, touching the ground. So I want everything off the ground, nice and clean, no disease, no wilting leaves. So I'm trying to stay on top of these. I learned my lessons from the sugar snap peas to just take a few seconds a day and just walk through, look at each plant. I've got blossoms on several of these. I have several different varieties just to see what I like. My wife says she'll be making lots of spaghetti sauce and we'll be enjoying different kinds of tomatoes here. These are yellow plum and they grow in a group. Looks like we'll have some of those coming on quickly. Nice thing about growing a variety of plants is that we'll have different harvests at different times. And so we'll have tomatoes all the way through the summer, and I'm hoping into the beginning of fall. And here on the end I have two beefsteaks that look nice and big and healthy. This video here is, I think, number 34 or 35 in the Mitladder Gardening Method playlist. If you haven't seen the other videos, you just kind of stumbled across this one, please come back to my channel and look for the playlist on the right hand side. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if you are prepared, you shall not fear. And if you follow the Mitladder Gardening Method, you can have a beautiful, healthy, high production garden in your backyard.